Now, USC NIL. USC has a partnership with an outside media company launching Boulevard LLC. The hope was that its unique approach of facilitating name, image likeness, or whatever else would help kind of keep away the rise of donor-run collectives. And, of course, USC has had their issues with the NCAA, no matter who the NCAA is now or will be. But the LA Times then had a story that was out, I believe it was yesterday, deep-pocketed USC donors, diehard fans proceeding with their own NIL operation called Student Body Right, a third-party collective that they say is essential for USC to properly compete with other top schools that feature collectives. USC, however, the effort to start a collective outside the university's reach is being viewed as, according to this story, as an existential threat.
Existential threat.
That could invite serious scrutiny if the NCAA opts to enforce its NIL policies. A couple of the guys, a Florida-based businessman, among others, saying, nope, this is what we need to do.
We heard this from Todd Berry about how NILs would eventually overstep their reach, and maybe were, especially in recruiting, of telling coaches, like, hey, I got this guy who's interested. And they're like, yeah, but we're not recruiting that guy. We don't really want him. And, you know, I do think that's a big swing, that if the NCAA decides to start enforcing, so they might reap the benefits and never worry about it. But I do think it should be best practices for collectives to, you know, help the university out on that end, as opposed to openly go against their wishes.
One of the parts of the group, Brian Kennedy, once was one of USC's top athletic donors. His name still graces their practice field. His relationship with USC soured nearly a decade ago, but he confirmed to the Times that he has been involved in discussions about student body right.
If you're expecting me to say a whole lot, I don't have a whole lot to say on it, because I told you before, I'm not going to start talking about yahoos that are like booster dudes and talking about them the way we talk about quarterbacks. Like, I'm not going to do it. NIL, I am all in favor of, but, you know, we start talking about rogue boosters and all that. I liked it better when it was behind the scenes. And I read their name in Sports Illustrated in the big expose, and then I never heard it again. You know what I mean? Not like the front of a thing that I'm going to hear about on a regular basis now with USC. I know there's like a whole avenue now for NIL, and like we've had our interactions with it, and Baylor's got their various things, and I know Sickham's done stuff and all of that, but I just have zero interest, man. I
get why, but I don't know if it's so much about bringing them up, the names up.
Yeah, but you're reading the quote from the guy, and I know. That was my initial reaction.
It's a story that, to me, that this is going to become even more and more of a problem, even when the school says, we don't want you to be a part of it. To me, that's the story, not the road.
I know, and I was going to get there, but I was reacting to the guy's name. Like, that's my first thought, is I don't care to know who that is. All due respect, I don't care what he does. But be a behind-the-scenes booster and get USC back to greatness. For all I care, man, that's great. But yeah, I'm not gonna remember that name or the name of their NIL. But I do think that if you are in a position at USC where you feel like they're not doing enough and you want to make them as good as they can be, well, you're going to do what rogue boosters do. I mean, the rogue booster is not a brand new thing at all. It's just that it's now attached to NIL. And so this is going to happen. And I find it sort of surprising that with the Lincoln Riley era starting off the way that it is, that, I'd be curious to hear his thoughts on this, because I don't know. I don't really think that Lincoln Riley is probably like dissuading boosters from paying money to get him star players. But again, like I said a while back, like, yeah, you would think that the coach wants to have some say on who exactly you're pursuing, of course. But I don't like, how is this a bad thing, really? Outside of if they're going, like, as long as you're on the same page as far as who's getting what and everybody's on board with who is, then why does it matter?
Yeah, I would just like, my only comment on the story is, why would you kind of openly defy your university and put them in, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, is why would USC have an issue with it?
Yeah.
What is it about this thing that...
because they've had it was like a decade ago when they had everything basically stripped out of their control.
But those rules are gone now.
Those rules don't exist.
And there's nobody to enforce them.
So my question is, I'm not asking you to necessarily answer it for me because you don't know, But what is it about this collective that USC's like, no, we don't want to be a part of that? Because every school is begging, or at least their fan bases are begging for NIL stuff. They're begging for it. Mac Rhodes has got like 3 different things going on. Baylor fans are like, we haven't done anything in NIL. And it's like, no, you haven't, compared to Texas Tech or SMU, who have basically given guys base salaries, and charity, which does charity come with a payment after the end of it, by the way? Because I see that in like every single thing with this.
That's the thing I wonder.
That's how you word it.
I know,
Yeah,
but like I'm reading that and I'm like, I'm not clapping for your charity when I know you're getting $25K for it.
If I am Tommy Tuberville and Joe Manchin and Cory Booker and all these senators who try to write NIL bills, that's one of the first things I would do is say, like, look, you cannot 501c3 an NIL deal.
But that's what they're all doing.
And that's what they're doing, because to me, that does it. Like, Craig, you're exactly right.
Charity,
like, it's charity
for 100 football players making $25K a piece. That's charity.
But I'm making $25,000 to support this charity. Like, I don't know about like
the charity
how much money
is paying,
going to student athletes compared to how much money is actually going to be raised for a charity.
Well, I mean, in Lubbock, it's got to be at least $1 million plus.
Yeah.
To match. SMU, whatever their total was that was higher by like a few $10,000 or whatever, like, okay, whatever that extra that they're paying all their entire team, okay, that much in Dallas. Yeah, and I don't know, and I don't want to like just throw charities under the bus, but the whole like acting like this is charity. Oh, they're doing community service. They're getting paid $25,000.
Well,
like, what are you talking about?
What you're talking about is one of the problems I have with Tim Tebow, and maybe not him overall, but the idea of paying a guy like Tim Tebow $50,000 to $100,000 to come speak at your church when you could take $100,000, go out in your community and put some clothes on.
Let's
some
not
people.
even start talking about what could be done with college football money, because my God.
So you have that stuff. So, okay, you're going to pay these guys.
That doesn't mean Tim Tebow shouldn't demand and get what his fee, right?
Yeah, I have a problem with churches doing it.
No, I think you have a problem with Tim Tebow.
I have a problem with him in general because I think he's a big, gigantic phony. But
you always go there. Let's stick to the point about the charity.
But I don't have a problem with Tim Tebow getting a $50,000 speaking fee to go speak at a touchdown club. I have a problem with him doing it at church because, isn't that money better spent on people who actually need it?
Do you have a problem with Tim Tebow or the church?
The church. That's what I said.
We're
I said
talking
it twice.
NIL.
But I said NIL. So that's the same thing with a charity where, look, if I'm raising money for Habitat for Humanity, but I'm also getting a cut of it, then I'm not really helping the charity all that much, am I?
It'll be interesting to see if there will be a story at some point in a year or two about how much actually the charities are benefiting and how much money they are getting based on what's raised that's going to pay the players and how much they get out of that.
And like, I'm not even saying that it shouldn't be done that way. I'm just saying I take issue with it when they call it charity and they act like it's all about community service. And it's like, yeah, but you're paying them to do the community service, whereas community service just was community service before.
I think they say that so they can get, that's the way you can word it.
I know why they do it, but it's bull.
Yeah.
Is why I'm calling it out. Is because it's garbage. But I understand, before we get the text message, that in, I don't know, maybe like, in all of the cases, really, there's always that caveat when you read these things of, well, they can make up to, or they can get up to this by doing this or that or this or whatever. So, it's not like they're cutting the $25K check and it's just going straight to the deal. But it is just a little flimsy to call charity and all this stuff. And it's like, man, there's big money attached to this. Come on.
One of the other things you asked about Lincoln Riley, here's a quote from him on this. It was echoed the positive outlook of Big 12 Media Day about the Boulevard's launch, which is what we're talking about here. I took this job feeling like we'd have advantages in the NIL space over any team in the country. And I know that now. I know Boulevard is still a little bit in its infant stages, and I think this thing is going to turn out to be a huge part of USC athletics and USC football. It's something that has my complete support, our staff's complete support, and would encourage every single Trojan fan out there to get involved because it will make a difference. Now, that's the one that USC partnered with, or however you want to use those words.
The Boulevard or whatever.
Not the student body, right. We got a break. Coming up next.